Hey everyone, welcome to this 6-part heavy series I'm starting, where I'm going to show you how to be a fat ninja. Nah, not really. I'm just going to show you map secrets and tips for a game that came out in 2007. Let's dive right in. So first up, coming out of the blue spawn, towards this first point, there is an incredibly useful side path. As most of you know, the building that houses the first point only has 2 entrances, one from the front and one from the side. But what if I told you you can actually get through the window? Right here there's this little tire looking thing where you can crouch jump onto it and jump onto the window. This is very useful because 1, you'll get the high ground, and 2, because there's almost always a sentry in either the corner or over by that large med pack, so being closer to it means you can do that much more damage against it, and it'll probably catch whoever's in there off guard. This next one isn't as groundbreaking, but still useful nonetheless. When approaching the first point on the second map, you can jump into this open window type thing to get out of a long sight line, which is very useful because inside there is a medium med pack and ammo pack just waiting to be grabbed. Once inside, you can work your way up the stairs and kill the sentry nest that is almost guaranteed to be there. Next up is this one on the second point of the second map. There's this barrel you can jump onto and then jump onto the wall. This is really useful because it can save you a ton of time from having to walk around. And of course it gives you the high ground, which is very, very useful. Unfortunately, if this barrel is shot or takes damage in any way, it will break and crack and you can no longer jump onto it, and you'll have to walk around or through the choke point. Now onto defense. On the first point, there's this rock that just juts out of the ground, and I swear you can jump this gap as heavy, but I just couldn't get it, even with the eviction notice. So perhaps I was wrong, or I just suck. But still, something I'd recommend checking out. Let me know if you're able to get it, or if I'm just an idiot. Then onto the second point of the first map, you can jump up onto these ledges sticking out near this one-way door. This will allow you to get up over to this ledge, which can allow you to take control over this open area that almost everyone has to go through, or you can continue pushing into the flank and then get killed by a soldier. Then onto the second map, first point, there are these barrels just behind the point that you can stand on, and it is the perfect height. You don't even need a bucket. You can easily shut down most people that try to capture the point as your head sticks just above the curve, which, as we discussed in a different video, the bullets come out of your head, so all you really need to be exposed is just your head. You don't need your whole body sticking out of there taking damage. The only thing with this spot is that you need to be careful of snipers and spies. Also, you can climb up onto the point from this spot if you want to die that much quicker. Then at the second point near the spawn, there's this sign that is incredibly useful. You can jump onto it and then strafe jump around the corner onto this ledge here. This allows you to dive straight into the action and, of course, get the high ground if someone's attacking. It's an incredibly useful shortcut and I use it every single time I play this map. If you don't, you really should, because then you can body block medics like I do here.
Stop.
Oh, yeah, at the third map there's really nothing clever to do, because it's just like a giant hallway with a metal tube. But on defense, you can go into the enemy spawn and camp them till there's no end, if you really, really want to. Now, for Gorge, there's not really too many on offense. There are these boxes that you can crouch jump onto right before the second point. It'll allow you to get the high ground and be relatively unseen, but it's still it's much more effective on defense, as you can be on these boxes, wait for the enemy team to jump down, and then boom, you have the high ground, or you can go behind them and then flank them all while they're not aware. That's the only real offense type one, even that's kind of better as defense. But another really useful one that basically everyone knows about on defense is over by these blue shipping containers. Right out of the gates of blue spawn, you can get onto this bottom layer shipping container by either jumping off the roof here or by climbing up these boxes here. It's a very useful spot that most everyone knows about, so if you don't know about it, I'm not sure where you've been, but there you go. And then of course there's this head-high wall by the first point. You can really shut down the side path. Although it's not too practical and you're likely to get headshot or backstabbed, it's still kinda neat, and I do find myself sometimes using it. So, firstly, while on point A, you can shoot through this little gap here, which is a good little area to spam through to discourage the other team from attacking. Honestly, it's not all too useful, but hey, sure is neat. Now when approaching B, there is this little platform that can be seen with a small medkit on it. You can't jump onto it if you come out of the blue spawn, but if you come at it from the direction of point C, you can jump onto it from that side, which allows you to pick up the medkit a little bit faster, and of course just get to the point slightly quicker. As for defense, all of the buildings at point A are able to be jumped onto. I know, you wouldn't guess it, but it's actually possible. The first two on the sides, all you gotta do is just walk up the side. It's pretty simple. The one in the middle, you do have to use the gloves of running urgently, but you can crouch jump onto it. It's not impossible, it's just kinda tricky. Which, of course, all of these spots are great to rain down damage onto those below. Then, over on B, there is this head-high wall that is a perfect spot to shut down enemies. Again, any real head-high wall that you come in contact with is probably a useful spot, but this one is particularly useful as it's right in the middle of everything, and enemies will have to go in front of you if they want to get to the point. Now, this last one is probably one of the best if you ask me. Oh no, you fell into the gravel pit. Now you have to walk all the way around and get out. Or you can just jump up this rock and crouch jump out. Boom, done, just like that. Now, Egypt's kind of an interesting case. There are a lot of these head-high walls all over the place, which again, are incredibly useful and can easily sway the outcome of a fight, but that's kinda all there is. There are no real useful climbing areas or shortcuts that you can take. There are a few that are kind of interesting, like getting up into this corner here, but for the most part, they're just like, okay, I did it, now what? Oh, I just get the high ground, and I can, that's it. Which the high ground isn't too effective because the wall is literally right behind you, so splash damage will still affect you no matter what. So it's not that useful. In the spawn on offense, there are these boxes that you can slide jump onto. There's literally no reason to do this. But hey, you can get new players to think you're hacking, so that's always fun.
How did the heavy get up there? I can't do it. Wait, look at I.
Then there's this next one that everyone sees and not many people really use. For some reason, the creators of this map just left a bunch of edges hanging out at random spots, and you can walk along them to get the high ground and cut the corner, which can save you a little bit of time. Again, another very well-known jump. Towards the second point, there is this fence. You can jump onto it and then use it to cut the corner here. It of course gives you the high ground, and it can also give you that much closer to the enemies, which allows you to capitalize on your damage to them. Nearby, there is this ledge that you can walk along and completely avoid this little room in the middle. Great way if you need to sneakily get health or ammo. And of course you can walk back from the medkit, you just have to strafe jump around. For some reason, I don't know why, you just have to. It's kinda useful, especially if there's a sentry nest in there. Then, of course, there is this extremely well-known, fairly easily spot to get to. It's right outside the blue spawn, and it's a great spot to defend at the start of a round. You have the high ground, and you can wait for the right moment to attack the enemy when they don't see it coming. Finally, onto the final Valve official attack and defend map, Steel. Everyone's favorite, who doesn't love Steel? This first one is by the first point right out of the blue spawn. On this upper route, you can jump onto the shaft, which can effectively grant you control over this courtyard. And yep, you guessed it, you also get the high ground, which is useful to help fight against close range classes and splash damage. This next one isn't really a map glitch, just an excellent area to go to if you've just capped A and you're trying to cap E. Right here is this perfect head-high wall next to the enemy spawn, so while your scout and soldier cap the point, you can just stand here and shut down anyone who tries to stop them. I actually used to use this strat when I played this map in Highlander, so if you ever want to roll the enemy team, I highly recommend this. Now, as for defense, there is this great one right here outside of the blue spawn. This ledge is just high enough for it to be impossible to jump up onto, but if you go right at this corner and jump strafe ever so slightly, you are able to get up here, where you can catch the enemy off guard, especially if you're using the Tomislav. Actually, most of these spots can probably be significantly improved if you use a Tomislav. I'm a dingus and I don't like to use it, but if you want that extra hand up, try the Tomislav, it'll probably help you out. Now, this one is exceedingly useful. On point C, there is this door that opens up from point B. Now, coupled with the fact that the other team is coming from that way, there's this rocky cliff that gives them cover, and of course, so most would assume it's pretty much impossible to get up there, right? Well, not actually. If you go over to this rock, you can actually jump up onto this ledge, and you can start to rain down bullets into enemies who certainly did not expect a heavy to climb up that cliff. Finally, I like to leave on a weak note. On point D, there are these boxes that I believe you can jump over to this fenced off area with, but I wasn't able to do it in the one recording I got of Steel, and if you're wondering why I didn't get more recordings of Steel, let's be honest, no one here wants to play Steel. So, I think you can do this one, but I could be wrong. And that's it. That's all I got for you today. Coming up next is payload maps, which there are many more of and they tend to be longer. So you can kind of infer how much longer that video will be. So if this video does well, expect a much longer part 2. Like, a lot longer. That or I'll just scrap the entire series.